All right, welcome, welcome. Good day, everybody. Let's roll. What's up, Rusty? Jersey Red. Elias, what's going on? Erica, good to see you. Steve, what's up? Peter N, good day. Glenn B, what's up? Jim Gregory, what's up? Craig from Melbourne. We're doing good tonight. Thank you very much, Chad. Not freezing rain, sleet, ice, or snow keeps it. Frozen Fort Worth. Man, keep warm, keep safe. Glad you made it. Danny, good evening from ice-covered Arkansas. Stay safe, everybody. It's a crazy storm. Here just outside Nashville, we've just sort of got like an edge of it, right? So it's a little bit frozen on the ground, but nothing too crazy. I don't think, at least. Jim King, what's up? Happy Friday. Jody 1, what's up? Jeff, what's going on? Jeff Steen, happy Friday. E. Phillip 4, what's up? Good to see you all. Thanks for tonight. Jay, what's up? Good to see you. Dennis and M.A., what's up? All right, everybody. Thanks so much. For those of you joining for the first time, expand the description below the video. And we've got a PDF for what we're going through tonight, little guitar workout. This week's electric week, right? But of course, if you have an acoustic, all of this is easily transferable, right? Russ Stark, what's up? All right, warming up Vegas next week. Can't come too soon. It's warming up here as well. Brent, good to see you. All right, ready to jam. I love it. Cool, everybody. Well, thanks for joining tonight. Chris Cook from Boiling Hot Perth. Awesome. Well, there you go. We got our down unders enjoying summer down there. I love it. Douglas, what's up? All right. Well, I appreciate you joining. So with our guitar workouts, usually we start off. Zane, what's going on? Thanks for joining. We start off with some sort of a variation of the chromatic warm-up. So this particular one, we're getting all the fingers involved, all the strings involved, getting some down-up picking. Thanks, Rusty. Appreciate it, man. I love my gold top. So we're starting at the 4th fret here, just kind of in the middle of the fretboard a little bit. All right, we got the gamer's chairs happening, Brent. Love it. Okay, so we're going to start with the pinky, this time 7th fret on the low string, downstroke, and then up, down, up, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? Chad just downloaded the Mammoth Guitar app, and it's killer. I'll have to check that out. Cool, man. Right on. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to check it out. Igor from Mexico, what's up? Good to see you. Okay. So the idea is that we're going to take this simple little sequence, right? In this case, pinky, index, middle, ring, and just go all up the strings and then move up a fret and come down the strings with the same sequence. Okay. So I'll just kind of play through the sequence once up and down, and maybe we can kind of go through it a little bit slowly together for a couple minutes just to warm it up. Whole idea is just to get moving here, right? So, right, nice and steady is what we're going for. And then when you arrive at this point, you're going to move up 1 fret, come down the strings, same sequence, pinky, index, middle, ring. And you can keep going. You could do this for a couple minutes, right? Every time you pick up the guitar, goes a long way, right? So let's give it a try here, nice and slow. And we'll start at the 4th fret. We'll go up, do this a couple times just to get warming up, all right? Northern Nevada, King 50 as always. What's up? Thanks for joining. Excellent, excellent. For those just joining, expand the description below. There's a link to the tabs that we're going through tonight. And of course, I welcome any guitar-related question as we go through everything, right? So don't hold back, hit them in the comments, monitoring the comments as we go. All right, so here we go. We're going to do this little warm-up, hopefully join in, and we'll go nice and slow. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Works great with a metronome, too, if you've got a clicker. Now let's move it up. Come down the strings. What's up, Peter? Now up again. Whoops. That'll do it. Moving up. What's up, James and John? What's up? Good to see you both. Andre from Quebec City, what's up? Good to see you. All right, that's the idea with that one. Of course, you can go up and down the neck a little bit. All right, appreciate that, James. Cool. Thanks for joining for that. 2 to 5 minutes, just warming up, right? Should you work on one song until you can play it with no mistakes? Felicia, good question. I usually recommend a couple songs, 2 or 3 songs. No, probably at one time, no more than 3 songs. Just because there might be some parts in there that you get frustrated with, right? It's always good to kind of, put something down for a while, spend the next couple days on another song, working on some stuff, then come back to it fresh. But yeah, definitely until you can play it with no mistakes, what you really want to be using as your benchmark, and a lot of our sort of regular viewers here know this, but always practice the song. If you find you're making mistakes as you play through the song, slow it down, okay? So, and try to play along with the recording, or if you're on Guitar Tricks, use the full performance video with the instructor, but use the speed buttons to slow it down so that you're minimizing those mistakes, okay? You want to be practicing with no mistakes. And a lot of times what'll facilitate that is to go slower, okay? So if you put in lots of repetition, doing with little to zero mistakes at a slower speed, you're going to progress faster to the point where you burn in that muscle memory so that you can play the song with no mistakes at full speed, okay? But as far as any song at one time, I usually recommend 2 or 3 at a time just to kind of bounce around a little bit and keep it fresh, okay? All right, Bob, indeed, let's do this. Mar, what's up? Glad you joined us. All right. There's our chromatic warm-up. We always do this on the guitar workout nights. Some sort of variation of that sort of sequence. Okay, what's up, Theodore? Good to see you. All right, exercise 2, simple little strum exercise with some syncopation, okay, and some rests. Could be a little tricky, but let's give it a go here. I'll play it first and then kind of break it down a little bit. All right, here we go. 2, 3, 4. All right, it's for you, Montreal in the house. All right, and James from Australia. Welcome. I appreciate you guys joining, or I appreciate y'all joining. All right. So this strum exercise, a 1-4-5 progression. What that means is that we're in a certain key that using the 1-4-5 chords in those keys. You don't need to necessarily know that if you're just beginning guitar. But you throw this stuff out enough and it starts to stick after a while, right? So we're in the key of C. We've got a C major chord. And if you have a look, 10th fret of the D, 9th fret of the G, barring down on the 8th fret of the top 2 strings. This is the upper part of a C major bar chord, okay? But I'm choosing to only strum the top 4 strings. So it makes it a little more of a compact chord shape and a sound, okay? And what we've got here is, if you look at the rhythm of the notes on the staff above the tab, it's going to give you a clue as to what the rhythm is, okay? And we've got some notes connected with a single flag, right? So that's going to tell you that's 8th notes. So now we've got an 8th note pulse in the song that's going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. We've got, quarter notes are the count, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we subdivide further to add in an extra beat in between those, we count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And what we can do is we can attach that to our strumming strokes so that we're going down, up, down, up, down, up, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So some of you with a keen eye might have noticed that as I was playing this, right? I've got this going, okay? And this helps you stay in time and keep steady rhythm. Even though you're not striking the strings for all of the beats that you're going down, up, down, up, down, up, right? You're just coming into the strings to strum where you want to strum, to have this strumming pattern going, but you've got this motion going, okay? And if you got your foot tapping with it, it's a lot easier to stay into time if, you know, as opposed to... if you're kind of breaking up your strum a little bit, okay? It's a little bit harder to come in right on time, whereas if you can keep this going nice and steady, you're going to keep nice, steady time, okay? So that's sort of a recommendation for any kind of strumming pattern, is to figure out what the pulse is and try to keep this as steady as you can, all right? So we've got this C chord. And what's the next chord? It says up top we're going to a G chord. I've got the 9th fret of the D, 7th fret of the G, 8th fret of the B, 7th fret of the high string. So I'm kind of barring down on the 7th fret. Yes, Craig, a little bit like Sweet Jane and probably lots of other songs. Okay, that's a really sort of common progression, right? Okay, and what we've got here is a G major chord, okay? And this is based off a caged shape, which is actually the open C. If we slide it up so that on the A string, that shape is anchored on a G note, then the upper notes spell out a G major, okay? And you'll notice it's the same shape down 2 frets, so that'd be an F chord, okay? For those of you who have done Guitar Tricks fundamentals, you know that if we've got a C right here, we can figure out what the notes are for the roots of the 1, 4, and 5 chords using the magic L, okay? So if you can find the C note, which would be the 1 chord, the 4 chord is on the same fret on the next string, and then the 5 chord is 2 frets up on that next string. So that's an F and a G. So you've got C, F, G, 1, 4, 5, and those are the roots of these chords. So as all of you know that, you know, when we kind of go through these musical examples, these musical examples and exercises, I encourage you to experiment a little bit and play around with this stuff, try different keys, and also try to think about what you're playing a little bit and just connect it to the fretboard wherever you can. So, you know, sort of like what I said, oh, that's an upper part of a C major bar chord, right? Now, some other ways that you could break this down is you could practice triad shapes with this particular exercise by selecting only 3 notes out of the 4 note chords in this exercise. So, for example, if I was to just pick the top 3 strings, 9th fret of the G, 8th fret of the top 2 strings, that's a C major triad, okay? One of the shapes of the 3 shapes that we have on the top 3 strings, okay? Okay, so that would be cool, right? Because the G turns into this like sort of D shape moved up, and you move it down 2 frets, you got F. So now you've got, you know what those triads kind of look like here. Oh, C's the 1 chord. I know I got the 5 and the 4 right there, okay? Similarly, if I take the D string, G string, and B string, okay, and just fret those notes. Turns out that that's a triad shape as well. This time on a different string set, right? And this time I've got C, E, G. So there's C major right there with those 3 notes. Okay. If I spread it down a little bit here, I get G, the first inversion of G, because the major third's in the bass, and then that same shape down here. So I can just strum those and work on those. I suppose, like, just before we move on from this exercise, one more thing to kind of have a look at here is the rests in that first bar, okay? You'll notice that I cut off these chords before I go to, coming off the C chord, going to the G chord. Okay, and that's a combination of I'm lifting my fingers off the frets because I'm moving to a different shape, but also I use my karate chopper right here just to rest on the strings and cut it off. Okay? Does that make sense? And then there's another rest moving from G to F. But you'll notice in the second bar, you want it to all ring out. There's no rests. Okay? So just some little subtle things to kind of look at there in that particular spot of this exercise. I'm just going to roll down this. Sorry, everybody. Got the heater going tonight. It's a little bit cold out, but it's getting a little hot in here. All right. Are you with me? We following it? Cool, Russ. Excellent, excellent. All right, exercise 3. A little bit of a tricky arpeggiation exercise, so highly recommend we go really slow with this one. This came up because a certain song that I'm going to be filming for Guitar Tricks coming up has this particular arpeggiation pattern in it, and it's played really fast. So, and I don't quite have it yet. So I'm going to have to work on this at a slow speed over and over and over and over until I build in that muscle memory and program the fingers and the picking so that I can do it a lot faster, right? So I've got some work ahead over the next couple of weeks just to hit that every day for 5 or 10 minutes and just make sure I can do it up to speed. So this is a little arpeggiation riff based with the top 2 open strings, and then I've got some notes from E minor on the G string. So I'm using the 9th fret of the G string, 11th fret, 12th fret. So that's E, F sharp, G, right? The first 3 notes of E minor. And of course, I've got open B, open E up top. So that all works in the context of E minor kind of sound, right? So what I've got is starting at the 12th fret. So I'm actually going to use my pinky because I'm going to be moving around those 3 notes, right? And so I've got... That's our first bar, okay? So not much moving right there, but 12th fret of the G string and just getting into groups of 3, even though you're picking 16th notes, okay? Okay. And, the way that I'm picking this, and this isn't a locked into stone rule at all, but I tend to gravitate towards this sort of thinking with how I do my picking on something like this, is to go in the direction of where you're going to the next note. So if I start on the G string, I'm going with a downstroke. B string, I'm going with a downstroke to go up to the E string, but then I'm going to come back up with an upstroke on the E string because I have to go all the way back down to the G string to repeat. So down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up. Now notice the very last figure, I'm coming down to the 11th fret now, and I'm going to hit G, B, high E string, and also the B string. And so that sort of makes it all work out in 16th notes for an entire bar, right? You have that last part that is 1 note and then picking 4 different notes after, or a grouping of 4 notes after that when you've gone 4 sets of 3 notes, right? So hopefully that makes, I hope you can kind of follow what I'm thinking there, but. Okay. Now we're going to go down into the second bar. What's up, Jeff? Good to see you. Okay, now we've got 2 sets of 3 starting from the 9th fret of the G, okay? But then I've got a set of 2 right there. Just the G string and B string, and then I'm going to go up to the 12th fret and do a group of 4 on the 12th fret. And then on the 11th fret, do a group of 4. This is actually kind of a little bit tricky, right? So if we're going to try to put this together, it's going to sound like this. Okay. So cool little arpeggiation exercise here, but sort of outlining a little bit just this general concept of you can pick like in groups of 3 across 16th notes, but you have to think about how to make everything kind of work out at the end of the bar, okay? Because in this case, everything is sort of broken up into enough picks, little clusters of picks, that it all works out so that at the end of the bar, you can repeat it and start again, right? Also, it's just a great example of taking some notes from a key like E minor, for example, and using some open strings with it. Like we can kind of take this idea off on a tangent and just use any notes from E minor on the G string, right? Something like that. You can come up with your own riffs with that kind of idea, right? And of course, this isn't limited to just the string set, right? Like we can, what would we do with the D string, G string, B string? Right? You could play in the key of G and move some notes around there. You could even still play in the key of E minor because you've still got G and B, which are in an E minor chord. There's lots of things that we can kind of parse out with that idea, okay? And of course, with the idea that, if this is something worthwhile to kind of practice, try and get a little bit faster at it. I'm not sure how fast I can do this right now, but let's see. Okay, something like that, right? Like the idea is that we have to try and play that a little bit faster. It sounds a little more impressive, right? Anything sounds impressive faster, right? So we get it in that muscle memory a little bit. You'd be surprised to see how quick you can go once it's burned in a little bit. Right on, Rusty. Take care, man. Thanks for being here. Raymond, what's up? Lawrence from the Netherlands. All right. Thanks for joining. Welcome, welcome. All right. Exercise 4 tonight, triads. Can't get enough of triads, right? Another riff here. What's the name of the song we're working on? Peter is asking. Yeah, that particular song is an Evanescence song. I believe it's called Everybody's Fool. It's played in a different key, but it's that idea. It's got some acoustic, really fast acoustic arpeggiations sort of in that style. So I'm going to be filming that in a couple weeks. Thanks for asking. All right, exercise 4. Triads. We're going to look at the top 3 strings and also the D, G, and B string sets. Okay, same riff, but played with different shapes, right? Because the triad shapes are a little bit different. We're also mixing major and minor triads here. So I'm going to play exercise 4A right now. We'll talk about it a little bit. So something in the key of D minor. And first chord is just barring down on the top 3 strings of the 10th fret. These are notes that spell out D minor, right? What have I got here? I've got an F, A, and the D's up top. So D, F, A. That's D minor, right? So right away you've got one of the shapes one of the triad shapes for minor is just simply barring down on the top 3 strings. Okay? In this case, that's a first inversion because the minor third is the lowest note. So they call that the first inversion. Okay? Next, I'm going to the 9th fret of the G string, barring down at the 8th fret of the top 2 strings. And we've seen that already. That's a C major chord. In this case, E, G, C. So once again, like the C is up top. This time we've got the major third, which is the E note, 9th fret of the G string. Excuse me, that's the lowest note of the triad. So that's going to be the first inversion again, but for a major shape. Okay, so this is one of your major triad shapes on the top 3 strings. Okay, so an easy way to think about how you would move it to a different chord, for example, G, just keep that shape, and that's a C up top, that's the root. So if you know where the G is on the top string, you just move that shape to it. So now I just found where G major is because G's up top here. It's the same shape, right? You can also do it up here. Octave higher, right? Cool. All right, so next chord that we're going to see is, excuse me, another D minor shape, D minor, but another minor triad shape on the top 3 strings. This time it starts with the root. There's D, F, A. Okay, so this shape is a minor shape on the top 3 strings. So if I wanted to transpose that to another chord, for example, G minor, right? I have to find a G note on the G string to move that shape to. So that would be up at the 12th fret, right? There I've got a G minor. Okay, so the last part of this is, okay, now I've gone to another major shape. I've got the 3rd fret of the G and B string, 1st fret of the high string. This is a B flat triad. And I've got a B flat, it's the lowest note of it. So that's the root 3rd, 5th, right? B flat, D, F. Same shape, up 2 frets is going to be a C, right? There's a C note right there. So there's another major triad shape on the top 3 strings. Okay, so just let's see here, Craig. Mike, I always have trouble playing like an 8-8-9 or, for example, 3-3-4. Can't seem to play it clean. Oh, so you're just playing like this shape, for example. Okay. I wonder what it might be. It might be that you need to curl that finger on the G string up as much as possible, because if you have it too flat, right? If I have it flatter, if I'm not getting enough curl on it to reveal that B string, right? You'll fret out on the B string. Okay, so you want to try and get that middle finger coming on as straight or as curled as you can. I don't know if you can see that. Okay? Maybe that'll help a little bit. Big finger in the way. Yeah, and just try to move that finger as much as you can, even if it's grabbing some of the D string, right? And moving that out of the way so that you've got clearance on the top 2 strings, right? So how I would practice this is start with the bar with your index finger, right? And you could even do it, you can even bar that onto the G string if you'd like. And then just work on the placement of the middle finger. And if you have to kind of scooch it up even more to get clearance, that's what you got to figure out, right? And a lot of times it's even Yeah, move the thumb more behind the neck is what I was going to suggest. It's a hand positioning thing too, okay? So just keep working on trying to get your hand in a position where you can make that happen, okay? Now, once you find where you can, oh yeah, first and ring, that's another way to do it, Glenn. This is what Glenn uses, right? Where the middle finger's out of the equation. So that works for him, right? But the key is you've got to experiment, thumb placement, all this stuff, right? Hand placement. But once you find where it's working, then you got to practice going to it immediately. So try and replicate it. Like take your fingers off and try to go right to it and try to replicate it and practice on and off, on and off, on and off. And that's going to get you to getting that quickly and cleanly each time, right? If you just practice doing that. Okay, hopefully that helps. All right, so we're on to exercise 4B, the triad. Now we're going to move to the D, G, and B string. I'm going to play them in the same position, but show you the shapes. Okay, so now for a D minor, I've got the D as the lowest note on the D string, 12th fret, and I'm barring down on the 10th fret of the G and B string. Okay, so there's your minor shape. One of the three possible minor triad shapes on the D, G, and B string set. Right? Move that down 2 frets. We talked about the C major already, right? 10, 9, and 8 on the D, G, and B string. Okay? All right, now D minor on this is you're gonna get the 7th fret of the D and G, 6th fret of the B string. So with this particular shape, D is in the middle. I've got the 5th on the bottom and the minor 3rd on the top. So that's known as a second inversion minor triad shape. Okay. And then to get the major shapes, all you have to do is bar down. First on the 3rd fret for B flat, and then 5th fret for C. Okay, so you can play that. Okay, so that's that exercise. All right, triads. Got to know this stuff, right? Super useful chord stuff to move around the fretboard. There you go. MA's got suggestion. Don't worry if you have fingers behind the fret. So if you're barring the 10th fret, move the bar to the 8th fret and put a finger on the 9th. Yeah, give it a try. All these. All right. Like Under the Bridge or Dire Straits. Yeah, exactly. Good one. I like that, Jonathan. Cool. Right? Yeah, what is that? Yeah. All right. Exercise 5. Blues shuffle strum. Okay, so let's work on our shuffle strum a little bit. We've got a little bit of a bluesy riff that's kind of cool here, playing out of a B7. Bar chord 7th position. So I'm barring down at the 7th fret, adding the 9th fret of the A, 8th fret of the G. Diads. There you go. Yeah, we were playing the full triads. Right? But yeah, Dire Straits, Diads. Yeah, something like that, right? All right, blues shuffle on a B7 bar chord 7th position. And the first thing we want to get down is the shuffle strum, right? What the shuffle is not is a straight strum. A straight strum would be even down ups. 2 and 3 and 4 and, okay? If you put a shuffle or a swing on it, that upstroke is going to be delayed a little bit to give a bouncy feel. Okay, that's what we're going for. You can think of that rhythm. So think of it as that, like that upstroke is lazy into that next downstroke. Helps to be nice and loose here, right? Okay. What we're going to do is use the pinky to add a little melody here on the B string. Okay, so it's going to look like this. And then what I'm going to do is move it down to the open position for an open E7. The exact same thing there, but adding the second and the third fret onto it, right? So on the B, I'm adding the 9th and then the 10th fret onto the bar chord. So if you think about that blues rhythm, it's actually those notes up an octave added onto the chord. You with me on it? Cool. So always good to sort of practice that shuffly bounce, okay? And even if you have to take this in chunks, right? Like not even worrying about the melody on the pinky, but just working on the strum. Go as slow as you need to go to keep it in time. If you got a metronome clicking away, that's always helpful. 1, and 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Then start working in that melody. You notice that melody is coming in on the downstroke, but then I'm lifting off for the upstroke. Right? Cool? Excellent. Trite 76, I know it's off topic. Can you play any percussive instruments like the handpan or rav drums? No, wouldn't really consider myself a percussive kind of guy. I can shake a tambourine, probably, but, and, you know, hit the heck out of a cowbell, but I'm not much of a drummer, really. To be able to play something super complex like percussive like that, not really my bag, but yeah, much respect to those who can. Alrighty, so let's go to A minor pentatonic scale pattern. Very exciting, right? I'm going to play it and I'm going to break it down. It looks like this. This is exercise 6, by the way. We're back into straight time. One more time. One more time. Okay. A minor pentatonic, penta, 5-note scale, okay? Come down here. Here's our A note, 5th fret of the low string, and I'm going down to the G, starting off. Okay, and the reason I'm doing that, I'll explain in a sec. But basically, the A minor pentatonic scale of 5 notes is A, C, which is the flat 3. A is the 1, right? A. C is the flat 3, or the minor 3rd. D is the 4, E is the 5, G is the flat 7 or the minor 7. Okay, so those notes right there are the 5 notes that make up A minor pentatonic. And sort of I'm going to go through all the different octaves of it, right? So I also included the lower G note right here. And the reason is that if we're improvising down here, if we're playing melodies, a lot of times we want to know the notes below the root. So a lot of times. Okay. Very common to be able to just be riffing down here like that. So you want to know what the note is below there, right? Even down there. You've also got a low E on the open E string, but I'm just keeping it to the G, right? So if I stop right there at the 7th fret of the D string, that's your next octave of an A note. Okay? So think of this in chunks. We're going up in chunks of 1 octave. Okay, that's 1 octave of A minor pentatonic, but we can keep going. We've got this sort of diagonal pattern, right? So now I've got 7th fret of the D, and I'm going to go 5, 7, and 9 on the G. So once again, root, flat 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 7th, 8th fret of the B string, and then another octave back to A. There's another A note right there, 10th fret. Okay, and kind of to finish it off a little bit. Okay, so starting there, root, flat 3rd, 4th, 5th, but then coming back down. This time staying in the 10th position and grabbing the C note at the 13th fret of the B string. And you land on that A note to kind of end off the pattern. Okay, so. All right, so think about the octaves contained in there. There's like close to 3 octaves. There's that one, the lower one, and then this one. Okay, sort of in the middle right there. And then we've got some higher notes up here. Okay, so just mess around with that a little bit, but you'll see that group of 5 notes making up that scale, kind of repeating. You can kind of see the repeated patterns, right? And then this one, it's kind of up a string set and up 2 frets. Except when you get to the B string, you got to go up 1 more fret to account for that, right? Okay. Now, where can you use this exercise other than just getting to know the scale a little bit? Well, this is a great one with a metronome too, to just go nice and slow. Okay. Play it to a metronome. You'll work on your picking that way. Give it an opportunity to work. You know, I tabbed it in with slides, but you don't necessarily need to do a slide. You can just do a position shift, okay? Okay. I don't need to do the slide if I don't want to, right? You just do a position shift. Okay. So experiment, play around with it, you know, move to different keys, right? See if you can like spot all those, you know, where all the A notes are, right? And then use those as your anchor points to be able to transpose the scale into D or whatever, right? Okay. So that's the idea behind that one. Okay. Introduction to those of you new to the guitar. It's merely just an introduction to, one of the most used scales, the most common scales used in music, right? Western music. And even if you just start to work with it, getting it onto your fingers, working on your picking and fretting, well worth your time. Okay. Cool. Let's see. Tried 76. I'm kind of biased. I'm British, but you got to love the Rolling Stones and Keith Richards guitar riffs. I'm with you 100%. There are plenty of Stones songs on Guitar Tricks. In case you don't know, where we've got full song tutorials and we've got tons of Stones on there. And I've been one of the lucky instructors to teach a whole bunch of those. I haven't taught all of them, but I've taught a lot of them. So it's been really fun to do that. Peter, thank you. Nice melody. Russ, as a GT member, I really like you putting in some theory. I'll be rewatching this lesson. Great stuff. Excellent. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that. All right, let's up it a little bit. Speaking to the theory thing, but also a cool finger exercises here, using some pull-offs, using some stuff on the top two strings, arpeggio shapes, okay? And what are arpeggios? Well, arpeggios are a way to play the notes that form a chord, but you play them one at a time. Okay, so for example, our first example here, exercise 7A, is A minor. Okay, so the notes that make up A minor are A, which is the root, C, which is the flat 3 or the minor third, and then E, which is the 5th, 1, 3, 5. But for minor, the third has to be a flat third or a minor third. Okay, so those are the 3 notes used to make up an A minor. Now, if I play those, one note at a time and not combining them, but just playing through them as single notes, I'm playing an arpeggio. Okay, that's what an arpeggio is. Not to be confused with chord arpeggiation, which is where you're picking the notes of the chord and letting them ring out, right? Like if I've got an A minor, I just arpeggiated that chord. That's a different concept than an arpeggio. It's where I'm just playing single notes one at a time of the notes that make up the chord. So what I've got in this first exercise 7A, it looks like this. Okay. Sort of like a lick a little bit or something to practice. Okay, so let's break down each group of 3. Okay. So what I've got is C, A, and E. It's kind of in a different order. I'm starting on the minor third, landing on the root, and then grabbing the 5th as the lower note. But notice how I'm playing it. Okay? John, I assure you it's water. Thanks for checking, though. Okay? So this is sort of a Jimmy Page, this is sort of a classic lick, right? Like I think Santana or Jimmy Page. You're playing all the notes that make up A minor. Okay, that's why it works so well. It's why you hear that a lot in solos, right? But what you can do is put these in different orders, right? Just like we kind of reordered the notes that make up the triad shapes, you can do the same thing with these shapes on the top 2 strings. Okay, and so the next one is E up at the 12th fret of the high string, pulling off to C, and then grabbing A at the 10th fret of the B string. So that's 12 pulling off to 8 and grabbing 10 on the B string. And that's sort of you can go either way with it, right? But you're just playing those notes one at a time. Right? So, okay. And then I kind of don't have this in this particular lick. The way that it ends isn't like actually an arpeggio. it sort of more goes to A minor 7 because I'm grabbing a G here to end it off. But then I bend up to the A. But you can actually do the full A minor arpeggio starting with A up top with the pinky. It's a little bit of a stretch, right? 17th fret and then pulling off to 12, which is E, and then grabbing the C, 13th fret of the B. So that'd be your third minor arpeggio shape. But the way I have it in this particular lick is I'm only going up to the 15th fret, so I'm grabbing a G note. So it's more of an A minor 7 sound, because to make an A minor 7, you add the flat 7 in, which would be G, right? So, and then I do a full step bend at the end of that. So this lick together. Okay. So there are your minor arpeggio shapes. I could change that lick, by the way, to kind of go, if I wanted to keep that last one as the actual arpeggio shape. A little bit of a stretch, right? So we've got the next one, which is number 7, B, right? And I'm going to check out E major. Okay, so these shapes are going to be a little bit different. I've got the E note, 5th fret of the B string, and I'm pulling off B to G sharp, 7 to 4 on the high string. Okay. The next one is going up to E on my pinky, 12th fret, and it's a stretch down to the 7th fret. E going to B and then to the G sharp note, 9th fret of the B. A little more of a stretch there, right? Okay. And then the next one is 16th fret of the top string, which is G sharp, pulling off to 12, which is E, and then same fret on the B string is B. And then in the end, I slide up to the E note, 17th fret of the B string to end it off. So it'd be something like this. Make sense? Cool. All right. Almost through it. You got any questions? Hit me up. All right. We're on the last exercise. Some double stops, a little bit of a double stop riff. Okay. So I think it goes something like this. One more time. Oh, whoa. Okay, so we're basically giving you clues to chord progression up top. D, going to A, going to E, and then back up to A. Okay, but playing just, a melodic little riff here, right? So I'm starting off by sliding up to the 11th fret of the G, 10th fret of the B, including the open D string. And once again, if you think about the notes that these two notes come out of, or the chord that it comes out, is D major bar chord, 10th position. If you just pull out the G and B string, okay? And you could add the root, and then you've also got a higher octave, 3rd and 5th right there. Okay? So these are just cool double stop shapes, double stop or diads, right? Meaning two notes played together, okay? And with diads, you're not really you're obviously not playing a full chord. It takes 3 notes at the very minimum to play a full chord, but you can imply chords with those 2 notes, right? So, okay, so these are the double stops. I've got 11 to 10, moving that shape down to 9 and 8, and then down to barring down at the 7th fret. So look where I end up. I'm still sort of droning on that open D string, but I end up on D and F sharp. And those also are in D major, right? So I've got D major up here that I'm highlighting, and then I also have it down here. So the notes in between are just the notes in between, like just a bridge basically from, right, out of the D major scale, right? Okay. And so you're just using those scale notes to bridge. So you can think of that. You can pull that out of this riff and just use this when you're kind of vamping on a D chord. All right, Proud Mary kind of thing. But anyway, you get the idea, right? Then I'm just going to do the same idea using the open A string and using double stops outlining the A chord on the D and G string. So now the shape looks a little different. 11th fret of the D, 9th fret of the G. Okay? Okay. Same shape down 2 frets. And then I end up 7th fret on the D, 6th fret of the G, which is out of a A major, right? A major there, and I also kind of played out of this caged A major up here, right? So same thing on the string sets with the low string and the A and D. Okay? And ending on the A chord. So Diads. Yes, indeed. Diads. You can apply a lot of chords. They're awesome. Bridge indeed. All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Mike, looks like you're hybrid picking. I might have went into it. I kind of have a tendency to do that. I kind of like the sound of it. Okay. So you can kind of like just pick that root note, that droning open string, and use your fingers to get the diads. That's kind of a really cool technique, right? All right. Yeah, so hybrid picking too, right? We could have done that with some plucks. All right, everybody. Steve, sorry I joined late. This has been a good one. All right, circle back. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. If we got any quick questions, we've got a couple minutes left. So if we got any questions at all, I'm happy to do it. Anything? Jim Gregory, what's your approach to playing a solo at a jam over a song you might not know? I could get tricky, right? You kind of gotta, what helps a lot is, is just the experience of playing, having played for a long time. You develop your ears over the years, right? And you can kind of hear chord changes a little better. So even if you don't know the song, you can kind of pick up what the chord changes are. You can do a quick sort of calculation in your head. Okay, what key would work here? What scale would work here, kind of thing. And just go for it from there, okay? That's pretty much it. You're relying on all your experience and everything you've worked on up into that point, right? And so what really helps that, like just as a more general thing for, how to jam and play a solo over something, is just learning lots of solos. Like over the years, I've tried to learn so many solos off records, right? And of course, with Guitar Tricks, I get to learn tons of solos to teach them, right? Because we're doing song tutorials. So all of that plays into it. You have so much, the more songs you learn and the more specifically solos you learn, it just gives you a really deep well to draw from for, just having an instinct to know what to do, right? And the other part of it is just, it's more an ear thing. It's just having the experience to know chord progressions and kind of pick them out when you hear them, and you kind of have a sense of what to do. So, but, in order to get there, like what I said, try to learn as many solos as you can, but also play along with backing tracks as much as you can, and just keep an ear out to hear what works and what doesn't. and you'll start to gather those things, a well of things that work, that seem to sound good and work in all sorts of different chord progressions or different situations, and just being able to draw on that at the time. I don't know if that really answers your question, but that's kind of what came to mind. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Peter, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Igor. Mar, thanks. Have a great weekend. You too. All right. Thank you. Chris, thank you. So you would start with chord shapes. Steve, no, not necessarily. It's certainly helpful to be able to improvise when you think chord shapes and chord tones and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot more sort of an advanced thing to kind of target notes in the chords that are happening underneath. So that's kind of part of it, but really just to get started, right? Like if it's sort of a simple progression, if you can pick out the key, then you know a pentatonic scale that will work for those chords, right? And then maybe you got some licks that you kind of can hear in your head that would fit over that chord progression. You kind of start with that stuff. And then as you go, yeah, some of that chord shape stuff and some of, knowing chord tones kind of figures into it. Anita, first time joining. Excellent. All right. Great. Thanks, Jim. Excellent. Good. Anita, thank you for joining. King 50. Thank you. Have a great weekend into the great week. John, great to see you. As always, Danny. Magic Ellen reverse. Love it. Okay, Danny. Cool, man. Glenn B picked up a lot. I'm really great. That's awesome. Excellent. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Zane. Jeff, thank you. Drop triads are sweet. Can you show us one or two? Sure. You're kind of thinking like this kind of stuff. So drop triads, as I understand them, are just you're kind of picking notes out of different octaves, right? So I've got a C here. Like normally I would do maybe a C dyad right here on adjacent strings, right? Like a C on the 5th fret of the G and then the 5th fret of the B string. You've got the root in the major third. But what if I drop the C down an octave? And this is a really cool sound too. I'm glad you brought that up, right? So I can go through the chords here. Okay, that kind of sound. All right, I think that's what you're getting at. Hopefully. Theodore, thank you. Pile of Duke, thank you. Chad, all right. Excellent. Having a good time exploring GarageBand on the iPad. Yeah, they've got lots of cool little things in there, right? Like with the drummer and the keyboard thing, and they don't have that on Logic really so much. So it is fun to play around with. Erica, thank you. Peter, memorizing riffs is always a challenge. Any recommendations? Yeah, it's repetition. That's really it. Usually what ends up happening, you develop that memory with, more and more music. When you start to hear things quicker, I find that you can memorize it quicker. But that just takes a lot of listening to stuff over and over, so it burns it in a little bit. Okay. And also what you need to be doing is getting that muscle memory going at the same time, but it also gets into the brain too. Okay. So it's really just repetition. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, I would say. Okay. Hopefully that helps that. Russ, thank you. Steve-O. I always say Steve-O. I hope that's right. Steve. Thank you. Dennis. All right. Thank you. Danny, Mark. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. Have a great weekend. Into next week, we'll be back with an acoustic. It'll be an acoustic finger picking next Friday. All right. Same time. Thanks, Jody1. All right. MA. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Cheers.